Ruslan.
Tell me the process of working on Neverland 2. You alluded to it a little bit. When did this project start, and when did you turn in the master?
I turned in the master 2 months late, so we're trying to turn it in June 1st. So I turned it in August 1st. Um, the album is narrated by my mother, which
Wow.
is interesting because the and Donda, he put his mom on there quite a bit too. Um, that always something that bothers me. I'm like, oh, if I get ready to put something out and it's been done for a few months and someone else does it, they're like, you bit it. That always happens to me.
Mm.
But it's narrated by my mom. I found some interviews from Saturday morning cartoons that never got put out, and I was
Mm.
able to weave that through the project. Um, what else? I started fall 2019 on a lot of these records. That's
Hmm.
like I know because that's the name of the folder on my desktop where a lot of the files live. It says
Okay.
fall 2019.
And they're probably
But
still on your desktop, huh? Like that folder's still there amongst a bunch of other folders that aren't organized.
yeah, I had my boy D Steele saw how messy my desktop was, and he's like, "I have to fix this. Let me." So he went in and did some stuff. But fall 2019 is like when we started. Then we took a trip that was in Atlanta, and then we took a trip to Malibu, and we like worked out of there for a little bit. Um, it's just been it's like a trial and error process.
Hmm.
Some artists they make like I made 10 songs, I'm putting out 9 of them.
Hmm.
You know, and that's the way I used to be. And then I think over the last few years is like once you know how to make a good song, you're not just trying to make a good song. You're like trying to push yourself creatively and find something different. And that's where you have to create a lot of things and then find the best parts. And oh, maybe I'll take the verse of this and I'll put it on that. And you start tinkering. Um, so yeah, there's some songs on there like "Trying" that I
Hmm.
started writing in like 2018.
Hmm.
So it's old, but it's new to the rest of the world. And it was like I had these incredible lyrics, like probably my favorite lyrics I've ever written.
Hmm.
And I was like, I couldn't find the right beat for it.
Hmm.
Oh, it's too slow. It's gonna take too long to get into it. Oh, let me try a sample. The sample doesn't feel, so um, the process for me is like finding a great idea and then trying to throw all my resources at it to bring it to life.
Got it.
And so a
S-
lot of these songs you'll see on here, like they're the fifth and sixth iteration of that song
Right. Are,
because
are, are these you
talk about
tweaking the production or the lyrics? Because I'm curious, like, how often are you rewriting verses? How often are you rewriting songs? Or are these like you're kind of tinkering production and trying different, sound textures around stuff? Or is it kind of like both? Like you said, you had these lyrics and then you were trying to find the right beat. What is it the main thing when you're talking about working on a song? Is it writing that second verse? You get the second verse and the hook out, and then you're trying to find the
yeah.
second verse. Like, what is it that makes you spend this time exploring to find the sound?
A lot of time is production.
Okay.
A lot of times production, but sometimes it's lyrics. Like I got this song. I don't know if I can't really say it. It's got a big feature on it. It's not coming out on this project. I'm gonna try to do it on like a deluxe or something. But like I did it and I recorded it and I don't like my verse. And I
Mm.
keep going back, tinkering, trying to figure out a way to freak it. And I might just have to be like, yo, that's it. That's the end of my attempts. Like at some point you have to move on because
Hmm.
you have to start counting the cost of am I pushing to make something better? Or could I spend the same 5 days tinkering to make this one verse better and work on two brand new songs that could be way better? So it's always that balance
Mm.
of how much time do I spend? And I feel like there's a couple songs on this album that I spent so many months tinkering and working on that I ran out of time when I could have been working on new songs.
Mm. Mm.
And
Got it. Okay.
it bothers me, a little bit because it's really time management when it comes to creativity for me. I don't have the luxury of like a Kendrick to go away for like 4 or 5 years and have everyone like, we're waiting. The whole world is waiting for you, sir. Uh, that's something he's earned off
Yeah.
of dropping amazing albums back to back and like his path or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the process for me, man, is just figuring out. I have to love it. I have to like really be excited about it. And sometimes you have a song sitting around for too long and you start to fall out of love with it.
Mm.
And you're like, oh, maybe we should change the beat. And everyone's like, leave it alone. It was done a year ago, you know?
How often do you lay a record and just instantly know this is it? I'm not tinkering with it. Nothing needs to change about it. When does that happen?
Almost never.
Almost never. Wow. Okay.
Almost never. But that ends up being some of the songs that like people like the most, is the ones that are like the least effort,
Yeah.
ironically, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been transparent about mental health. You've been transparent about dealing with anxiety, all these different things. Has working on your mental health helped with this creative process as well? I feel like I've heard you talk about therapy before. Has that kind of working on that side of things, working on your mind and just peace, right? Has that helped you kind of, because I feel like you've been more productive from the outside looking in. Work in Progress was really good. That's probably some of my favorite music from you. And now this record, I think the 3 or 4 records I've heard from Neverland 2, I really, really like. So it seems like you're more, the output is higher. Is that because of, man, let me work on my mental health, let me work on my mind, let me work on my body, let me work on me? Is there a correlation there for you?
There probably is. I can't like definitely I can't like metrically track it, but I know for sure like one of the things to getting my mental health in a better place was reorienting my relationship with work.
Okay.
And so like um, I love being in the studio. I love working. I love hard work, but that's what drove me into like a maddening cycle of like overworking, overthinking,
Mm.
driving myself into fear and anxiety. So now we've had to set up some more like parameters in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I think those have helped me to be like, yo, I'm gonna go work out in the morning. Then I'm gonna hit the studio from like 12 to 7. And then I'm gonna come home and spend the evening with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where before I'd be like working all night long, just like putting 12, 13, 14-hour days in the studio. And I think you can get to a point where you just overwork
Yeah.
and you're like, you stop being productive. So some of my people I look up to creatively, like John Bellion, like he's a buddy of mine, he'll be like, oh, I only work on music in like seasons. So he's like, I
Hmm.
completely walk away from music, is what he told me one time. Like, oh, I just don't work at all. I just like
Hmm.
live my life, let things
Yep.
in. And then it's like, oh, inspiration hit. Everyone get to the studio. Let's go. And like then lock in for a few months. So, or some people are just working every day, I think I've tried to find a balance of that where like I have to get away from it enough to live enough life to have
Mm-hmm.
something to bring into the studio.
Mm.
But I feel like if I go away for too long, I start to lose some of the cadence and the rhythm of
Mm-hmm.
creating. Like when you get back into working on something new and you're like, oh, I got to get the dust off.
Yeah, get the dust off, the rust off. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
You're
It's
like,
like
oh, these first
it's
two
like taking a
songs.
month off from playing basketball, and then you're back in there, and you're like, ugh,
Exactly.
this is the mechanics feel weird. You're still,
Exactly.
yeah, for sure.
My jump
Would
shot went over the backboard. Like, what are we talking about? So,
would,
for me, finding rhythms of rest have been like super helpful. So I've like since 2019 tried to like really make Sunday a full on rest day.
mm,
Like we don't talk about work. We don't go to the studio. Like my management team, everybody knows we just kind of like don't talk to each other, bother each other Sundays. Like really rest. Go play
yeah,
golf. Go do something else. And try to like really keep that um, sacred in a way.
yeah, yeah.
And so it doesn't mean there's less work, but it could mean that there's more productivity too.
Yeah, less work, more productivity. I read a quote somewhere that said, "Creative people just need time to hang out and do nothing." Would you say
Uh,
that you also need some of that? Just hey, like, yo, we're just chilling. We're not talking about work. We're just hanging out. And then a lot of times ideas come from that you could put into the art later.
100%. 100%, because all my best content and ideas come from interacting with humans and people and sharing ideas and thoughts and hey, what you been listening to lately? What movies you been watching? Oh, this Japanese art movie called Tampopo. Like,
Hmm.
yo, let's
Hmm.
watch it together. That's the stuff that starts for me, like I'm such a creative person that like if you just put information in here, like I'll flip it around 20, 30 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't take the time enough to like saturate myself with new ideas.
Mm.
I think that's like something I need to work on going forward, is like I need more downtime to just go and listen to music and to watch movies and to watch art shows.
Yeah.
So that I can bring it into my own head and my own world and freak it and make something unique, you know?
That's beautiful, man. I think rest, Sabbath, I mean, you know, community, you're hitting on a lot of things that I think if somebody asked me like, Ruslan, what would your advice be to Kanye? And I was like, well, first of all, to your point, like my opinion doesn't matter. 2, it would literally be what you just described. Wake up at the same time every day, train every day, have a routine, a consistent routine, rest, leave time to hang out. And I think a lot of people in general, but specifically creative people, we need that, like, just that groove to get back into, because you can lock in and get super meticulous on something, and it can lose some of that magic when you're just always grinding away, because it's not the same as like flipping tennis shoes or like, right? Because like a lot of that Gary V hustle culture does not always translate to creativity, because this is not how art works. Like it's different, you know? Do you
go ahead? Well, I was just gonna say, like a lot of the reason why I do a lot of what I do is out of fear, you know. So I'm like, man, I don't want to just put out a song a day, because what if they're not amazing? You know, like a Gary Vee would say, put out a song a day. I'd be like, what if it's not amazing? And a fear I have is if it's not amazing, people won't like it. They won't like me. They won't like my music. They won't, you know, want to rock with it. Or sometimes the madness of this hustle to be like, I gotta get this dude. I gotta grind, is because it's like, oh, I'm afraid I have a window of time where people will care, and that window's closing. Like these are some of the things,
especially in hip hop.
Yep. Or I'm getting older now. Oh, I passed 30, so you might as well just be a grandfather you're just old as dirt at this point, right? It's so funny because it's like the beginning of life for everybody else. And
for every other industry, you get into your like pocket at 30 and rap, you're like, I'm done a wash, son.
Oh, I better wrap it up because I'm grandpa now. You know, so like these are all and whether or not these things are true, these are fears that drive me to be like, yo, I need to do this now. I need to work these obscene hours now because this window's going to be gone. I look at it like a pro athlete. They get like a little window to make a big impact, and then, you know. So those are things I got to work on too, man. Like just not being driven as much by fear and just like believing, you know, my path and my journey, like what's for me is for me.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
When the culture says do what you love, we respond with love what you do. You may have responsibilities that you aren't passionate about, but loving what you do means being faithful to what's in front of you, committing to excellence as if that were your greatest dream. Colossians 3:23 says, work diligently at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. Love what you do. Love what you do.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
Yo, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you found it valuable, considering giving it a like and subscribing. This month, I'm releasing the Love What You Do collection, and to celebrate, I'm doing a 3-day virtual event to help us go from learning to love what we do to ultimately doing what we love. By the way, it's free, so hit the link in the description to grab your seat today.